What can I say? This genuinely could be my game of the year. Is that too bold to say in April? Maybe. But right now, Crimson Desert is seriously impressive. It delivers a compelling story, a wide variety of meaningful in-depth gameplay mechanics, and visually, it's absolutely gorgeous. Not sure how many times I've said that whilst playing the game, but it's definitely in the thousands. Now, I do want to set expectations early. This is initial impressions review. I'm around 30 hours in, and once I fully complete the game and seen all there is to see, I'll be back with a follow-up. That could mean that the score goes up, or could come down, depending on how the story and systems hold up over time. So if you'd like to see the final verdict, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out. But for now, let's jump in.
Telling me to jump?
Crimson Desert is set in a harsh, war-torn continent of Pywell, where factions, mercenaries, and powerful forces are constantly battling for control. Players Cliff, the leader of a mercenary group known as the Greymane. The story begins during a period of instability, where the devastating conflict leaves your group fractured and struggling to survive. From there, it becomes a journey to reconnect your scattered allies and rebuild what was lost. But it doesn't just stop at survival. As you progress, you're drawn into wider conflicts, rival factions, political tensions, and mysterious forces that hint at something much bigger going on beneath the surface. And what stands out for me is how well the game balances the main narrative and everything else happening around. The world itself plays a big role in the storytelling. The side characters, the exploration, and smaller quest lines all feed into that bigger picture. The story hooked me almost immediately. The opening is brutal and sets the tone perfectly for what's to come. Side quests feel meaningful. They don't come across as checklist tasks and filler content. Instead, they feel meaningful and naturally integrated into the world and story, which makes you actually want to engage with them. Main missions also have a good amount of variety. The addition of the Axiom powers add another layer to gameplay, and the puzzles are honestly excellent. They feel different, properly challenging, and rewarding to complete. And yeah, I'll say it again, the game is absolutely gorgeous. There's a lot to unpack here, but I'll focus on what really stood out. When I first saw the gameplay, I wasn't completely convinced. Movement looked a bit clunky and sluggish, but actually playing it, it feels more fluid than expected. It reminds me a bit of the feeling you get in Ghost of Tsushima. Smooth, responsive, and satisfying once it all clicks. There are a lot of mechanics in this game. On the surface, it can seem a bit overwhelming, but the game handles it well by gradually introducing different systems over time rather than dumping everything on you in the first hour. Even now, I'm discovering new mechanics, which keeps things fresh. That said, this approach won't suit everyone. Some players might prefer everything up front, but personally, I think this pacing works perfectly. Combat overall feels solid. It might look a bit like a hack and slash, but there's more nuance underneath. As you progress, you unlock new skills through different methods by watching, allocating points, or even equipping certain weapons. My main issue here is targeting. It can feel a bit inconsistent, especially in crowded fights. It sometimes jumps between enemies in a way that can feel similar to the Batman Arkham games, but not quite as controlled. You can toggle a fixed aim to stay locked onto one enemy, which helps, but it's not that refined, and hopefully it will be over time. Outside of combat, there's a huge amount to do. You've got main quests, side quests, crafting. It feels like a blend of Red Dead Redemption 2 and The Witcher 3 in terms of freedom of movement and world engagement. There's something really satisfying about just hopping on your horse and riding out, not really aiming for anything specific. The world does encourage exploration, and honestly, you'll probably find yourself stopping every few minutes just to take in the scenery or get involved into something you hadn't set out to do. Crafting is another layer that I've only just started digging into. Most of my gear is still base level, but I've already started mapping out what materials I need to upgrade things properly in an Excel spreadsheet. You know things are serious when there's a spreadsheet. You'll be mining ore, collecting wood, and managing resources. There's also some great ways to discover better gear through hidden puzzles, secret rooms tucked beneath waterfalls. Crimson Desert really rewards exploration. Strongholds are another highlight. These are essentially combat challenges that you need to eliminate a percentage of enemies before unlocking a boss fight to enable you to liberate that location. Each one I've done so far has felt different, forcing you to adapt and use different strategies. And as you progress through the main story, you'll be directed towards some of the side quests to unlock other storylines, which in turn gives you access to being able to remove, place, and also craft abyss gear. Enough mechanics are given in the first 10 hours to keep you engaged, but as you progress through the story, you're encouraged into the side missions, where further mechanics are introduced, such as the Greymane's camp, where you can expand the camp, unlock the ability to send your allies off on specific missions to collect resources or coin. This feels like a nice balance, as not to overwhelm you at first. I've played other RPGs where in the first hour you're introduced to absolutely everything and you're left wondering what the happened. Having these mechanics introduced over time gives you that feeling of enjoyment as you discover something new, even 20-30 hours in. And just to say it again, because it deserves it, this game is absolutely gorgeous. This is one of those rare cases where visuals genuinely outshine everything else. The sound design is solid, it does the job, sits comfortably in the background and supports immersion. But for once, it's not the standout feature for me. You know from my previous reviews, I don't hold visuals in such high regard, but in Crimson Desert, I have to hold my hands up and say they're absolutely incredible. The game is genuinely gorgeous. I will say, I've spent some time refining some of the graphic settings, as well as getting some weird lighting flares on the armour and inside buildings, but I see some of those may have been fixed in the latest patch. Each area on the map feels distinct, yet everything flows together seamlessly without loading screens. The world design here is on another level. Honestly, the last time I had this kind of wow moment visually was probably in The Witcher 3 or Red Dead Redemption 2, but this feels like it even pushes beyond that. It's easily one of the best looking games I've ever played. Now, as positive as this has been so far, there are some issues worth talking about. At launch, there were some bigger problems, but to be fair to the dev team, a lot of these have been addressed. That said, a few things still need work. Targeting, as mentioned earlier, can be frustrating, especially in close quarters combat with multiple enemies. It can cause fights to feel less controlled and more chaotic than they should. Key bindings on mouse and keyboard are also not great. It feels overly complicated and unintuitive. I'd honestly recommend playing this on control for now. Even then, controller bindings aren't perfect. There are still some questionable choices, but it's definitely the better option overall. The good news is the developers have acknowledged this and are working on improvements. Performance-wise, I've only really noticed frame rate drops in busy town areas, mainly when lots of textures are loading in. Outside of that, it's been fairly stable for me. I did cap my frame rate through the AMD software, which helped, but it was nice to have that option built into the game itself. There were also some minor issues with aiming precision and camera movement. The default sensitivity and acceleration felt a bit off, but thankfully these can be adjusted in the settings. So, while there are some issues, nothing here has been game-breaking in my experience. At this stage, I'm still relatively early in the overall experience of Crimson Desert, only around 30 hours in, with a handful of chapters completed. There's still a lot to uncover, both in terms of story and deeper gameplay systems like crafting and progression. It'll be good to see how things evolve over time, and with the latest dev update, there are some interesting changes inbound, with a chance to rematch bosses, reblockading of liberated locations, and other quality of life improvements and features. That's something I'll be covering in my full review once I've put more hours into this game. I genuinely don't understand how they've managed to pack so much into this game. Right now, everything feels fleshed out, the story is engaging, the gameplay systems have depth, and visually, it's outstanding. There are some interesting changes inbound as well, as the game evolves over time. Even at full price, it feels like you're getting your money's worth, purely based on the amount of content in detail here. Like I said, I'm about 30 hours in, and it feels like I've barely scratched the surface. There's still loads of the main story and side quests to complete, and a huge portion of the map left to explore. And yeah, just in case it hasn't come across yet, this game is gorgeous. As it stands, I'm giving Crimson Desert a 5 out of 5. It's completely hooked me. I've already had sessions where I've spent hours just gathering materials for upgrades, exploring the world, and progressing side content. There are some bugs that need ironing out, but nothing that's taken away from the overall experience in a major way. And that's where I'll leave this review. Let me know if you're picking up Crimson Desert and how you get on. Once I've completed the game, I'll be back with an updated verdict. So if you want to see how it turns out, make sure to like and subscribe so you can find your way back. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.